Good morning. Welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Troy, and my guest today is Chris Plastic of Shiny Plastic People.
Hello.
Greetings. Thank you for joining me for this.
Of course.
So we're coloring some Supergirl today. It's not Supergirl movie stuff that I've been doing so far. It's just Supergirl in general. But this is partly to celebrate that this month. If it's the international version, is the 40th anniversary of the release of the Supergirl movie. It was released in the US in November, so I may have more Supergirl content in November. But really quick. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I do have some Supergirl movie stuff for when we kick over to the table.
Excellent. And Rhea Black is with us, and she says, hello, Chris.
Hello.
Rhea. I like them both. Anyway, so welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yes, you have some Supergirl artifacts.
Yes. I not too long ago found a store the last time I was in Denver, Colorado, called 5280s.
Oh.
The elevation is 5280. It's 80s, yeah. And they had a whole bunch of retro cards, and I picked up a pack of Supergirl movie sticker cards.
Excellent. That's sort of one of my pickups for it's to research a Selena video. I'm not going to do anything online, but this is just I got it, and it's a British edition, so that's cool. So that was my one. That's sort of the pickup. Anyway, we should show. Like, I don't know. Did you want to open the cards? Or you just want to show them off, or what?
Well, I'll open them up over there. So we'll switch over here. We'll get rid of the blur. Got my fancy.
While Chris gets that set up, he picked a couple of pages. I'm going to start with this one, and if I finish it, I'll move to this one. So. All right, official stuff that I talk about is done. Chris, you're on.
Yes, all right. So we've got 6 sticker cards here. This is kind of fun. He is so pink from printing on the pink packaging. Yeah. I think there's gum in here. I'm not gonna try it.
Yeah, don't do that.
So right away, the first card we pull doesn't have Supergirl. It does have Linda Lee, who I forgot that was her alias in the movie, was Linda Lee.
Yeah, Linda Lee.
Relationship in progress. Do not disturb.
Oh.
Round 2, Supergirl captive.
Oh no.
It's on the back. Oh, they do. Different pieces of art on the back. Oh,
it looks that one's a poster. You're gonna have to get more, Chris, so that we can put that poster together.
Well, I'm going back in October because not only do I have Denver Bronco tickets, I have passes to Casa Bonita. You know. Teen Angel right there.
Oh.
Another story bit of Selena. Oh, let your imagination explode, much like she did in Inner Space to Argo City.
Yeah.
Oh. The out of control machinery.
Tractor thingy. Save
nice
Ethan.
Place to visit. Right before the attack from Matt Fewer.
I had a short last week of her beating those thugs. No, hoodlums. That calls them hoodlums in the page. It was very
sure. They're much more menacing on that coloring page than the movie.
I tried to bring out their menace.
And of course, Supergirl herself.
Yeah. Oh.
And another piece of the poster.
See, I now feel compelled to buy those and then do a time lapse of putting the poster together because I'm just that out of control.
Well, the good news is these were relatively cheap. Surprise, surprise. As it's not a very popular property. It was cheaper than the Superman 4 cards, is all I'm saying, that they had. And no gum. I was robbed of the gum.
Yeah, I don't know if you were robbed of the gum or not.
But yeah, that's fun. I
cool.
think these are stickers, yeah. So I could actually pop those off, but I kind of don't want to.
Okay, so just doing a quick look, it looks like for $10 on Amazon, I can get the complete 44 set of the stickers from it.
Oh,
Or for what is happening, eBay? It is the complete set.
okay. It was about $3 a pack. So, inflation being what
Interesting.
it is, but
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. All right. I'm going to quickly rearrange things a little bit. There we go. No, no, no. All right. There we go. All right. That seems like a good thing. And really quick, good morning, Alex. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to see you. So yeah, we're gonna do some Supergirl stuff. Yeah, I did. I just looked that up, and 150 for a complete set. Somehow my brain is saying that's too much, but it's complete. It's all of it. It's the stickers. It's the cards. You'll be able to
right.
put
But
the poster together.
I wonder
So
how many cards that is.
I want to say it's at 144.
Okay, so it's like a little
So
over $1 a
a
card.
little over $1 each. Yep. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'm doing this page. It's from the first issue of Many Happy Returns, which was when Peter David had Linda Lee Danvers, which is different than the pre-crisis Kara Zor-El Secret Identity one. But it's where he did the whole thing where she ended up in the pre-crisis universe and met the other Supergirl and tried to stop Supergirl from dying in Crisis, and it was a fun story. It's little confusing to explain, and if you aren't
That was
someone who
the Earth
super,
Angel era, right?
yeah, it was a fun era of Supergirl, though I will say. It was a good run. I remember getting issue 1 when it came out, and I remember picking up the last issue, and it was when I still lived in Louisiana when I got the first issue. And the last issue came out a couple months after I moved to Oregon. So it was sort of it was almost 100 issues long run, and it ran for a pretty significant chunk of my life. So, and it was all Peter David. Like he literally wrote, which is unheard of in this. Even back then, it was starting to become rare outside of like James Robinson and Starman that somebody would last on a book quite that long. So,
Speaking of which, I think they announced that there's going to be a Starman Black series comic or Black
oh,
label that is written by James Robinson.
that I was always really happy that they let sort of retired that character with James Robinson and didn't try to bring him back
Yeah, I think
after the
his
fact.
I think old Jack Knight's only appearance outside of that comic, not counting his JSA stuff, which was still James Robinson,
Yeah,
was he appeared in at the funeral in Identity Crisis, I think, but
yeah,
no comment, nothing, just a crowd shot, and I'm cool with that.
yeah, yeah. That was pretty cool. Usually, I'm not a fan of that sort of thing, but I think for the story they did with Starman, that kind of worked. So, for those wondering, I'm using the Quran Dash water soluble crowns, and I'm going to use that for my space background. So I'm just going in with this light blue. Well, I say light blue, but it's actually it's like it's blue cobalt, literally. So I'm gonna go in with that and do my first set up the first layer of it. This is the one where after I'm gonna lay all of this down, then I'm gonna go in and color Supergirl, and then I'm gonna get the water and make some stars and junk. So this is if you've ever in the time lapse, it's not always evident what's happening, but whenever I do space, this is how I make space happen. And then I'll go in with like some paint pens and color in all the stars. So, and it looks as though we are official. Nolan has joined us to
All
make this an
right.
official toy tube situation. So, welcome, Nolan. Thank you for coming in to give us the stamp of approval. It is muchly appreciated. It's how you know. Anyhow, I want to embarrass the reigning, like the notary of ToyTube. Don't want to embarrass him. But, yeah, I don't know. The 90s was a really interesting time for comics. It's like, because it started in the whole, like, foil and 3,000 variant covers, and then ended sort of in the, especially for DC, it was like the Jeff Johns era where all of a sudden we're trying to resurrect everything. Where for a while there, it was sort of the whole like everything is new. We're gonna recreate characters. It's all like we'll create legacy characters, but it's a brand new character.
Right. And Supergirl was definitely hit because of the mandate that Superman must be the last surviving Kryptonian.
Yeah, I think it took Peter David to sort of find a way to work with that. That I think felt. Yeah, because originally the whole Matrix. Because okay, so really quick, for those of you who don't read comics, I apologize. This part might be a little boring. But anyway, so yeah, pre-crisis in the late, it was like what 1959. I should know this for this month. It should be 1959 that Supergirl debuted as Superman's cousin. There have been 2 attempts before that to do. It was like test characters where she was a dream. There was a Supergirl and she was a dream character. She wasn't real. And then they made her, and it was just to test the concept to see if readers liked it or responded to it. Then they made her real. And the original Silver Age in the 50s, Supergirl is Superman's cousin, and her father, who is his uncle, helped save Argo City from the destruction of Krypton by putting a giant glass dome over Argo City. So when Krypton exploded, it just flung Argo City out into space, and they survived. Science. And
Yeah, he really won up Jor-El with that one.
yeah, and then a couple years later, and Supergirl was not alive at the so Supergirl never lived on Krypton in the Silver Age. She was born afterwards, and then Argo City was dying, so they sent her to live. She was the last daughter of Argo, and they sent her to Earth so Superman, her cousin, could protect her. And that's how it was for a really long time. And then it turned out Argo City got shifted into the survival zone, so they weren't really dead. And then they went to live in the bottle city of Kandor, which had survived the destruction of Krypton because Brainiac had shrunk it and stuck it in a bottle. And eventually Superman found a planet that it was just a lot. I kind of get the idea of like when they were redoing After Crisis, why they sort of said like let's get rid of all of this because it kind of does dilute the story. But I always thought it was very short-sighted at the time to like completely get rid of the Supergirl character. And I guess so did John Byrne, despite the fact he was the one who wanted Superman to be the only Krypton survivor. And then they wouldn't let him use Power Girl because they're like, we're going to make Power Girl an Atlantean. So he created his own Supergirl, who was Matrix, and she was from a pocket universe. And they also use this to explain Superboy as part of the Legion of Superheroes, since there had been no Superboy post-crisis. Superman was never Superboy post-crisis. And So Matrix was from a pocket universe. She was created a pocket universe where Lex Luthor was a good guy, and Superman was the only hero, and he was killed by the Kryptonian General Zod and all the Kryptonians, villains from the Phantom Zone of the pocket universe, created by the Time Trapper to mess with the Legion of Superheroes. And then when he died, Lex Luthor, the good one, created a protoplasmic life form that mimicked the genetic makeup of Lana Lang of the Pocket Universe, who had died. And then they figured out how to get her out of the Pocket Universe. So sent Matrix to the real universe to get Superman to help save their universe, but then it didn't work. Superman killed the Kryptonians, got guilty, and then Matrix got reduced to protoplasmic goop, and he brought her back. And eventually she got better and became Supergirl, but very questionably dated and had an affair with Lex Luthor.
Hey, that was Lex Luthor Jr., who turned out to actually be the cloned body of the original Lex
right.
Luthor.
Yeah.
But he had a full head of vibrant red hair.
Yeah. Then fell out. So
yeah.
So anyway, so then Peter David came on to do a Supergirl book, and instead of sticking with that, he had the protoplasmic matrix fused with the body of Linda Danvers, who had gotten mixed up in Satanism. And,
as one does.
As one does. Who had been killed almost. Well, I should reread. I want to reread it at some point. I believe she was pretty much dead because her boyfriend Buzz, who was a demon, killed her to bring forth another demon, but then Supergirl Matrix saved her, and then they fused together, and somehow in the mix of that there was an Earth Angel who had wings of fire who became part of the mix. It's very confusing even at the time. It's a really good run. You just have to, I'm sure it's all on digital comic options. So I definitely recommend it if you're a comics fan and never read it. It's pretty good.
I'm sure really the whole thing's probably on DC Universe Infinite, which I keep forgetting I have a subscription to, where you can
just it's probably
everything.
So it's definitely worth the time. Like, it's a good run. It's about 90 issues. Peter David tells an entire story in that 90 issues. Wraps up all of the Matrix stuff, all of the Earth Angel stuff. So you get a pretty complete story. And then when it ends, right after that, they brought back, well, technically, it's not bringing her back from the dead because she just hadn't existed post-crisis, but then they bring back Kara Zor-El, and her rocket left Krypton at the same time, so technically she's younger than Superman, but because she was stuck in Boston Harbor at the bottom of the ocean for a while. Or was it that I don't remember, like that. It was super convoluted in a way it didn't need to be. So she's sad because the baby she was coming to Earth to raise is all grown up, and she's angsty, and some of the cheesecake art for a 15-year-old girl is questionable.
Well, that was Michael Turner, and he was 90% torso.
Well, somehow. Yeah. And, well, not only Michael Turner, but every artist that they got on had illustrated her for a while afterwards of the Michael Turner school of, like, let's give this 15-year-old lots of, I mean, there's a page actually in this book of that version of Supergirl that's literally showing her panties. Yeah. And I was like, I don't, like, you know, like, she's underage. I'm like, I don't know if I would want to color this in, you know, like, for a video or whatever, because technically this falls under some of the CP rules that exist in this day and age. Like, there's some states and stuff where it's like, any sort of sexualized cartoon depiction of a underage person like that is considered illegal. So I was just like, I keep flipping. It's too bad because otherwise it's a pretty decent page. But some reason, dude was like, who drew it was like, I need to show a 15-year-old girl's up the skirt shot. So it is what it is.
Well,
But
she was straight out of an Avril Lavigne video with the buckle belt and the whole thing.
good morning, Derek. Aw, I hope
It
it
was an
does.
era.
Yeah, it was a very interesting era in comics. I'm
I
I'm sure the
actually
dude who illustrated is probably one of the Comicscape guys now. So how dare
fair
you
enough.
not let me show a 15-year-old's underwear in a picture? That's mean. I think he's the guy who later got some blowback for over sexualizing Wonder Girl for an issue of New 52 Teen Titans.
Oh, who was that?
So I think it was him. I think it was the same guy. I forget his name.
That comic was weird. The New
Yeah.
52 Titans. And it kind of showed the entire problem with the New 52 is it felt like week to week they couldn't keep straight like how characters related in this universe.
Yeah, the New 52 in general just, like I went into it like, okay, I'm going to give this a chance. And I lasted 2 years. I think I stopped reading around issue 24 because, they all restarted the same month. So they were all, um, you know, every month it was like the same issue number. I think it was around issue 20. It was around the time of the death in the family thing that was going on in Batman.
Oh, the death of the family.
Yeah, that one with like all, and I remember going and getting those and like it was around the time also my mom was sick and I was dealing with helping my dad, after she died. So it was a rough year in general. But I remember going, and picking it because I was getting everything in the New 52 for a while there. And I was dropping almost $300 a week on comic books. It was pretty out of control for a while there. Um, and because I was out of town a lot, um, I would come in and it would be like an entire month's worth of books. And
Well, and I just remember just at that time being like, I don't know if I actually want to open this book. Like it just like the thrill wasn't.
well, and the problem for what was happening for me though is none of it was fun. It was all so angsty. And it was that Batman sort of series that two reasons that one killed it for me. One, I went and picked up my entire giant stack of books. And as I was doing so, the guy kind of got mouthy with me. He was like, "Well, these have been sitting here for a couple weeks. Like, this one Batman that I'm about to sell you for like the 290. Like, I don't remember if it was still 290. It might have been 399 by that point. He was like, that's already going on the aftermarket for $50. To be fair, he was not the owner of the store. Um, and he also didn't know why I was only coming in once a month, but he just got really lippy with me. So I, of course, went full ass Karen on him. I was just like, well, I'll make sure to tell my dad while we pack up all of my mom's shit. And he gets used to her being dead, that the guy at the comic shop is disappointed that he's not going to be able to flip a comic for $50 when he's just an employee here. And I'm like, I've had this account at the store longer than you've worked here, kid. So it was the fun part was like there was a guy in line. He was like, "Yeah, I would have spent $50 for that." So I did flip it in line while the kid watched, and I made $50 that day. I'm like, "Okay, well, here you go. Thank you very much." And just looked at the kid, and I was like, "I wanted to read that." So I have that issue missing, but it was definitely worth it. So, all right. And I am looking, there it is. All right. Looking for a slightly darker blue so I can make this blue in the American flag a little bit shady. I mean, I'm adding shade to it. Is that what I meant, guys? Don't cancel me.
Oh no, the Freudian slip has happened.
It just happened. But I love America, guys. Yeah, so I don't know. But that also just sort of soured me that, like, at the time there was a lot to be dealing with, and to get some dude like. And then I went home and started reading and realized the one I had flipped was like the middle part of the story. So I just went online and got it digital. And I was like, I'm just gonna start buying digital now if I'm feeling, like I have to read this stuff. And I kind of stopped reading comics for a really long time because I just wasn't enjoying them. I didn't like a lot of the changes and I was just like, oh, we need to be edgy and
Yeah, it felt.
sorry.
New 52 felt very like, let's bring the 90s back. Not the good 90s. The late 80s, early 90s. Pouches, guns. Angst.
Yeah. Well, it was another instance where Supergirl kind of got like a up the butt costume.
I have that figure. Really. I don't have like a Matrix Supergirl. I don't know if they've made a Matrix Supergirl figure.
The closest they did was the Linda Danvers in the costume in the page I'm doing, but that was after she and Matrix had split. So technically, and that's why she took the costume, because she needed something that fit her, because that was one of the things I liked, was that Linda was like 5'5" or whatever, and Supergirl was like 6'1", but I always liked it was much more convincing than Silver Age Supergirl with her brown wig.
Yeah, I do have the Mattel version of that figure right here.
Yeah, I've got
for
that
just
one
color
too.
reference. Boy, I really hated the skin tones on those Mattel figures. It always felt so dark.
You hated the what?
The skin tones. It felt so dark.
Yeah, it was like fake tan, and they also redid that figure though. There was the first one that had proper colors, and then there was one that came with like a black skirt, and
right.
I don't know which one I have. I think I have the one I think that was part of like a Superman line, or the first thing before it became DC Universe Classics.
Right, the DC superheroes.
Yeah, I think that's the one I have, and then they reissued her. I have probably too many of those figures, but it was just for a while it seemed like the closest we were going to get to some of them. But in general, I felt like the plastic skin tone, especially for all the ladies, like Wonder Woman, Black Canary, even Donna Troy, it was all sort of a little too dark.
Well, and the Super family all felt, and I don't mean this offensively, so please someone be kind to me. They felt Latino.
Right. Yeah, it was all off. Like, and I don't, again, that's not, it was just really, some weird choices made with that line. I remember thinking all of the ladies looked really derpy, and of course that carried over to Masters of the Universe Classics, which was being made around the same time. For a really long time, I thought that was the Four Horsemen, but I've seen some of their other sculpts, and I realized it was just whoever was approving the figures. That was his design. That was something he probably was, good old, what's his name?
Toy Guru.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, because he was in charge of both of those toy lines. And just, I'm going to assume that was part of his aesthetic, because he's the one who would have approved the various sculpts. Because at Super 7, I noticed with the Masters of the Universe Classics, once they ported it over, all of a sudden, there was a softening of the face, basically, once. Those sculpts hold up a lot better. So some people just have a particular aesthetic, and it's not for me. So
That's where, as a DC collector, I don't necessarily miss DC Universe Classics because it got real derpy at times.
yeah. Well, for me, classics too, like it became really hard to find, sort of what I would consider iconic characters. And it just, I don't know, it felt like for me it went off the rails really quick.
Well,
And
and
there were,
distribution was weird. Like they would be gone from Kmart, but I'd suddenly find them at the grocery store.
right? And it just seemed like it seemed like there was a phase too where it was just like every week there was a different assortment. And I don't know, for the price point of them, to me, it wasn't very economical that like 700 figures were dropping in a year. And then there are all the variants and the chase figures, and it's like I think I have the well, I should look because they're over here. I've got the Barbara Minerva with the black um
Oh, you actually
sports.
found her.
I don't have the naked Barbara Minerva. I have the one with like the black sports bra and the pants, and then I have the Priscilla Rich.
See, but I couldn't find any of them. You
Yeah,
know?
I found the Barbara Minerva at a store. I bought the cheetah on eBay. I got her and the Donna Troy Wonder Girl in a lot for like $20, which was pretty good at the time. I have actually most of them are in storage, and then they did the Cassie Wonder Girl. I've got her. She was technically part of the DC multiverse, but it's like the same box.
Yeah, that was that weird 3-figure line. It was like her, like
Yeah,
Dark Knight Returns, Wonder Woman, and a third
yeah.
figure that I can't
I got
remember.
that entire. I got that entire because they mixed those in with a bunch of the movie figures.
Right, because it was a build a Doctor Psycho, which was really
Yep, and I've got the Doctor Psycho. He's pretty cool. He's just Doctor Psycho is one of my favorite villains from Wonder Woman, but he's very not correct anymore. And it's that whole thing where it's like, how do you sort of make the concept of this not offensive in this day and age?
Right, which is where I think Harley Quinn just leaned and made him basically Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Well, then I was just like, you just make him like one of these sort of men's rights activist types because that totally fits in, and then you just make him really buff and because the ultimate, yeah, and like when Marston was writing the characters, it was a different time in comics in general. Which is why some of his character names, like there's the issue where like the Holiday Girls have a traitor because she's jealous, and her name is literally Gel, OC, and Priscilla Rich, the cheetah, like she's a rich spoiled debutante, Prissy Rich.
Get it?
Like there was no subtlety, and Perez actually sort of paid homage to that when he introduced the new Silver Swan in issue 16 of the reboot Wonder Woman, because the Silver Swan. I don't know if you read that line, but it's one of my favorite stories. Again, I don't know how well it translates now with what we know about sort of ableism and whatnot, but nuclear testing turned Valerie Beauty, Beudy, Beauty. She was severely deformed, but because it also gave her the ability to rearrange her molecules, she was able to do it herself, plastic surgery into beauty, and she has a sonic cry. and can give herself forceful protect, whatnot. And her husband is super abusive though, and his name is Henry Hank Armbuster. And I don't know. It was just Perez is I think one of the few modern. Well, I say modern. It's been for almost 40 years now. He was one of the first writers post Marston that actually I felt like got sort of the tongue in cheekness of it, but also kept it 80s serious. So, and my stripes are off on this flag, so apologies, peeps. Sometimes it just works out that way. But at least it's front and back, so maybe the back of the stripes are different on this flag. But I don't know. I always liked that. In a cheesy way, but for Dr. Psycho, his name was like Edgar Schizo. It translates to schizo when you break it down with the Marston. But he was like a male chauvinist, but he was also a little person. So his chauvinism was sort of implied to be from his feelings of inferiority. Can't even say it today. Due to his size, and he was also a little deformed, I think. So I don't, but I think you just make him like an Andrew Tate type of men's activist character, and that sort of archetype is always going to be with us. It's sort of the toxic man, woman hater type. So anyway, that was my idea. If DC Comics ever calls me, that's going to be my first job. If they're going to give me Supergirl, and they're going to give me Wonder Woman, and I've got ideas. And everyone will be like, "You're writing fan fiction," and it's like, no, because this is good. Oh. Yeah, I actually agree, and I'm a big fan of Gail Simone, and I think, and I'm not blaming her for this per se, but I think what happened is Gail Simone does a really good job in general of balancing in all, like the current incarnation of Deadpool. A big part of that is based on when she took over that book and was writing it, because she's really good at sort of like tongue-in-cheek and camp, but she also often counterbalances it with like some really intense violence, like her Secret Six run is just, in my opinion, one of the best runs of comic books ever. And she did her Birds of Prey is really good. Her Wonder Woman is really good, but it's also got that where it's like one moment you're getting sort of this really sort of ridiculous, like like all these young apes from Gorilla City want to fight Wonder Woman to prove their how cool they are, and she beats the crap out of them. But then they basically like have a life debt to her, so like they become her army of fighting gorillas, and like, but then you're getting sort of like ultra violence. So I just felt like she sort of got it. She was able to pretty well balance the whole concept of like Xena Warrior Princess Wonder Woman with goofy, lighthearted, silly stuff. And I think, I hate how this is going to sound, but I think that's partly because she's a woman and she sort of gets it. That's her sensibility. And I think a lot of the dude writers who come on and write Wonder Woman are too busy trying to make her cool so that guys will like her, not realizing like Wonder Woman is just Wonder Woman, and there's some guys you're not going to make like a character, and if they only like her when she's kicking butt, they're not actually liking what the character is supposed to be. So that's my 2 cents. And they're like the it's literally right here, I think. Yeah, Greg Rucka has done a lot of Wonder Woman stuff. I don't really care for his Wonder Woman because, like, he writes her to. He basically puts her. She's like on a pedestal with him, where she's like sort of this virtuous, iconic, perfect being, and that's just never. Like Wonder Woman's a little naive because she was sheltered, but she's not so like. I don't. Again, I think it's a dude thing. No offense to the dudes, but
Offense taken.
it's sort of and it's a certain type of dude where it's like for a woman has to be tough and kick ass, but she also has to sort of be this. And I find a lot of the male writers who write her these days sort of do that, and it seems like it's to make her appeal more. And I think Wonder Woman loses some of her charm when you're trying to make her appeal. I think and it happens a lot to Supergirl. I'm like, except Supergirl gets way more over sexualized, I find. Um, where it's like she's supposed to be a teenager, guys. Like she doesn't need to be super sexy, and we don't need her to have a costume that goes up in her muffin like that. I mean, the new 52 concept, that costume would have been fine if she had had some pants. Or if it looked like it covered her and it was just like a leotard thing. But no, it like had to weirdly go up the front and the back and
go all the way, show a little extra skin around.
Yeah, it just I don't know. Yeah, her Secret Six, especially like the all of it actually. Like I was about to say the early, but like it was one that did not bounce back in my opinion after the new 52. But she had that run where it was like Bane and Jeanette the Banshee and Scandal, like Vandal Savage's daughter Scandal was in there. Knockout.
She made Catman cool.
She made Catman like super hot as well. He was fun, he was hot. I don't know, she writes fun comics. Like I adore, anytime I read a Gail Simone comic, I know it's gonna at least be enjoyable and fun. And then, just if you're on Twitter, she's my favorite account to follow because she will just literally like choose violence every morning. Like, I forget, she posted something the other day and I just bust because it literally is like, ma'am, you know that there's a certain type of person who's going to reply to this and then they're just going to get roasted. Like, she has this ongoing gag where she'll post Cyclops. Cyclops' fire vision is never accurately used. And then people like will spend hours trying to correct her, like, no, it's not. He doesn't have fire vision. That's not what it is. It's not heat vision.
Concussive blast.
And they just go on, and she just, no, I'm pretty sure it's this. It's just delightful. I realized how delightful she was about 10 years. No, oh God, it's probably longer than 10 years at this point. But she started a hashtag. It was like, I'm a terrible Jedi. And her tweet was, I still call him Dark Vader. And I just busted out laughing because we all did that. And, 77, 78, there were a lot of us who called him Dark Vader.
Dark's a word, not Darth.
Yeah, right. It was just, and the hashtags were delightful. There were a lot of my sole contribution was I like to jump out from behind rocks and go ooga booga. And the hashtag was I'm a terrible Jedi. And I added the hashtag Tusken Raiders are easily frightened. And like that was every so often I'll crack something and she will retweet it or she'll like it. She follows me on Twitter. I don't know if Twitter is still there today. I mean, I know it's X now, but I refuse to call it by Grimes' ex-boyfriend's name for it. He's really big on dead naming his daughter. So I'm really big on dead naming Twitter.
It's only fair.
Yeah, he gets really mad about people calling it Twitter still, but yet pretends he doesn't understand calling his daughter by her chosen name is, the lack of irony in the man when he's making killer Cybertrucks that look like dumpsters.
I love that
I know somebody's
raccoons
gonna
think they're
say
dumpsters.
they haven't killed anyone yet.
The day is early.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's already one that's caught on. He's already had to recall some of them. Anyway, this isn't going to turn. And Grimes' ex-boyfriend is not Moby Part 2, because Moby is mostly ineffective and pointless. Right. Well, and that's, to me, that's what's funny. Whenever people don't know what sort of what she's doing, that she's just choosing violence and having fun. Um, but if you actually break down how some of these powers have been explained over the years, they're just as dumb. Like, yeah, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Comic books in general are sort of junks. And for me, it's when they try to make it not junk science that it often gets terrible. Like, I don't need to know where Cyclops power. I mean, I'm sure they did it so that they could bring in characters from the Punch dimension who are trying to, like, kidnap Scott, or like, I'm sure it was like story based. They were like, "Ooh, here's a cool way we could explore Scott's powers and introduce some new characters." But it's just sometimes the lengths people will go to try to explain superhero powers is cracks me up. Like, it's very overthinking. Like I'm fine with, like, Superman needs a, like, yellow sun to be at full power. He doesn't have powers under, like, to me that's a really good basic explanation, and it gives him some weaknesses. Um as sort of gross as it was, like the concept of, like, Wonder Woman becoming powerless if, like, a man welded her bracelets together, like, and, like, there would be issues where men would accidentally weld her bracelets together, and oh my gosh, she has no powers. Um, but like, a good hero needs a weakness. They can't always win, so I'm kind of okay with, sort of, which it's just their comic books. Like it's okay if the explanation for how a power works is dumb or doesn't actually make sense scientifically. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be like, yeah, it's not like hard, and there are people who do hard sci-fi as comic books, and that's fine, like, but superhero comics should always be sort of junk, bad science. Like, it needs to be fun, it needs to be enjoyable. We shouldn't have to take them so serious, and that way when we do get, like, Crisis on Infinite Earth 7 where Supergirl dies, that comic still makes me tear up. Like, what, almost 40 years? It's been almost 40 years. I was a baby when it came out. I was barely 10. No, I would have been like 11 or 12. I bawled like a baby. I still tear up when I read those panels. Because it's just so good. But it's so melodramatic. It's so soap opera, but it's just, I don't know, like, but it's cheesy, but it's good. Like, but also I appreciate stuff like Watchmen, where it's been elevated and taken to this next level, and comic books should be fun, and I just sometimes feel like people try to get too into making them serious. There's enough room for all types, but I really think in general most superhero books should be mostly like fun and light and junk science. And if you disagree, that's fine. Just don't read the comics that are like that.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yep.
And if you don't like it, well, I'm going to force you to, because that's what we do, apparently.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like, Yeah, like again, sort of the whole Supergirl Matrix thing is really ridiculous when you sort of try to break it down for people. Like it's just really stupid and doesn't really make a lot of sense from a logic point of view. But as I was reading the issues when they were coming out, like from a storytelling point of view, if you just go with it, it's a fun story. It's like it's a really cool redemption story too. Like you get like 90 issues that is the arc of Linda Danvers becoming a good person. Like she starts out this horrible, spoiled, awful person who blames everyone that's gone wrong in her life. Like it's everyone else's fault. She's not responsible. Everyone else has let her down, and by the end of it, she's willing to sacrifice herself to save Kara Zor-El from dying in the Crisis on Infinite Earth. Sorry, spoilers, guys. Uh, but by the end of it, she's willing to sacrifice herself for the good and to save people she cares about, which is complete 180 from where she starts. But we get that redemption, and there's some really good silly stories along the way, like the whole Comet the Super Horse story, um and the Peter David issue is ridiculous. Um, and borderline sort of, some of the what is it they call there's like a whole genre of writing now where it's like people transforming into animals and then the women who are hot and horny for them. Uh, I forget what the genre is called, but like the Comet, the Super, even back in the 60s, Comet, I want to say it was like a Prince and the Frog sort of thing. If I remember correctly, where he was like an actual human man who had been turned into a horse.
A
Or there were
super
times,
sexy horse.
yeah, or there were times where he would get turned into a man and him and Supergirl would be in love. And then he get turned back into a horse and they couldn't be together, which thank gosh they couldn't be together at that point. Comics weren't that wild. But it's all silly, and we can go back and look at it with like a much more oh, so that's what was going on. But it was just they were just sort of silly stories, like if you just take them as a fun story to spend a little time with, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we live in a world where there's not a lot of joy, and if you get a little joy in a silly story from the 60s where Supergirl's horse gets turned into a handsome man and they fall in love, but then she's sad because they can't be together because he's a horse again. One good boundary.
Right. There's a golden age cover in here that I love that's she's using black magic on her cousin and she has like devil horns.
Yeah, yeah. Supergirl's black magic. That's one of the ones because this is obviously from the book, and I have two copies of it. One of them I have ripped apart so that I can just scan the pages and print them out on my paper. And then the other one is just so that I have it. At some point there will be a flip through of this book this is from. I've only been doing one flip through a month, which of new book, and I just did the Supergirl movie coloring book, so I'm not. I have to be careful that YouTube doesn't think I'm a Supergirl channel, because then they'll stop recommending. Like they did not recommend my Barbie. They showed my Barbie short from yesterday to 9 people.
Oh no.
9 people saw that short. It has like 11 because I watched it, so it has like, and then 2 or 3 people. It has like 2 or 3 more views than like who they showed it to because people followed the link from Instagram. But it's just weird to me. Like they just chose not to show it. It's not even a like. I've had a few that have low views, and like I go look at the metrics of it, and like they showed it to like 500 people, and like 30% of the people swiped away, and I'm like, okay, well that one just didn't land. But if they only show it to like 7 or 8 people, and I've got 11 views on it, like I don't need you telling me, YouTube, that my views are lower than normal, because that's kind of your fault there, because you're not showing it to people. And so I'm afraid to see what my Care Bear one is doing today, because usually when they do that, and they did this to me from time to time, where they'll throttle a short, and they usually do it for 2 or 3 days. Not as bad now that I'm not doing shorts every day, but it tends to be on days where I have other content landing. So now that I'm not on
Yeah.
some insane, like I'm going to do a short a day every day for a year. Now that I'm not on that, I'm probably just going to stop scheduling shorts on days I have long form coming out.
Yeah, I did my accidental time off thing, and so all my click throughs are really bad. But it's all right. I'm gonna break the algorithm again for my channel by the end of this month. So
Right. That, I mean, I have been told by people who do YouTube a little bit more successfully than I, outside of ToyTube, of course. Um, and outside of ColorTube as well. But I've been told by a few people the fact that I do so many different properties hurts. They're like, you should just do Masters of the Universe, or just do Star, or just do DC, or whatever, and the algorithm will like you more. But that's boring. I would get so bored so fast. And the one dude was like, "Well, just start like different channels for." I'm like, "That's a lot of channels to track." Like, I'm
right,
just
I
like,
know I joked on our little clubhouse the other day that I was gonna start a second channel where I just talk nice about things people hate, and I was just like, that'd be fun, but I don't want that work.
yeah. I at some point I will have two more channels, but it's completely different, and those are not like they're just going to be a different sitch and scalable. But I don't know. It's just weird to me that like the algorithm is so specific that it doesn't realize that, and like even sort like Gee, Gee Jay at Geek Dad Life. His new name is Gee. Um, he was saying recently, like anytime he tries to do like independent toys, like YouTube won't push it the same way they do. So that's so he doesn't really do that because the algorithm doesn't like it. But it's really, in my opinion, anyone from YouTube is watching this, like it's really kind of dumb that the algorithm is that specific. And because, like, I mean, especially with ToyTube, nobody is that specific where they are only watching content for, you know, I don't know. It's just odd to me. All right. Hello, Aaron. Lovely to see you. I hope I'm gonna have to watch the Game of Thrones thing that you did with Ken after this. I was getting ready, so I couldn't pop in.
Yeah, they
Um,
were definitely discussing some hot D earlier.
yeah,
Toy
so I will check
Connection.
it out. I can't, that's what I'll be doing before highly articulated today after we finish this. I think that sounds right, Alex. I think so. So, all right, really quick. Let's see. So I'll ask you. So technically, her costume here is like white, and then this is a bare midriff, and these are white gloves.
Yes.
Um, I was thinking
I
of you. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say I colored an image right here of that, and I immediately went, "Her gloves were red, right?" And I was like, "Oh no, they're white." So she has
Yeah,
one
they are
glove
white, but
there.
I don't know if I want to white glove it. And I'm thinking about instead of doing the white top, doing it in blue. Um, so two things. One, nobody cares how accurate I am other than me and probably you. But also, this is a pretty straightforward page. I have scanned it so I can print it out and color it again at any point. So the question is, do I go for accuracy here or do I go um, for for like what I think is more colorful, which would be a blue top? And if you're in chat and you're listening, um, the question I pose to you as well. don't know if I can do. It's a way for me to do a. I need to figure out how to do the polls in chat. I may not be able to do that though because I'm not monetized yet. So, but anyway, so I'm gonna work on her hair and her skin for a few minutes while I stew on it and while we wait to see if anyone in chat has any opinions. And then I'll decide. I don't know though. The white kind of would be cool. This is why I wait. And why I work on other stuff while I decide. And again, it's not like I can't print it out and do it a dozen different ways for my own sort of edification.
She is a virtuous young woman, that Supergirl with her Snow White gloves.
Yeah, right. That was sort of the thing though with like Linda Danvers. At least she was like coded to be like 19, between 19 to like 24 in that series. So it wasn't like, she was in college. She wasn't she would have to be older though, because her best friend from high school, Maddie, was a doctor. Well, an intern when this series started. So yeah, she was at least in her early 20s. So again, Peter David also, I feel like I really liked his run on She-Hulk he did as well. That was
Am I making up that he did Young Justice?
Yeah, his Young Justice he had a really good term at DC for a while there, so that's some good. Yeah, that was a really good run of, and I appreciated Jeff Johns, sort of his reboot of Teen Titans, where he took Young Justice and some of the original character. I like that he finally, like, even though it took a while, and I don't know that she needed to be a teenager again, I do like that he sort of found a way to fix the Raven character after. Love Marv Wolfman to death, but it was really clear for a while there that his writer's block sort of ruined a couple characters. And ironically, Jeff Johns came in and fixed Cyborg and Raven. Because Cyborg got treated fucking dirty by the Titans Hunt storyline.
No, I think Jeff Johns, especially that era of Jeff Johns, I would buy anything at that time with his name on it.
Yeah, he was really dependable. Like, yeah.
So when they're like, Jeff Johns is going to do Booster Gold, I'm like, I'm in.
That was a really good Booster Gold series. Yeah, he really had a good era. It feels like New 52 also sort of. I feel like the whole Final Crisis, Flashpoint, New 52, I feel like all of that kind of got torqued. And like for me, and I think another part of why New 52 didn't land was it was just. It's like Final Crisis, New 52, Flashpoint, all of it just.
They got so crisis happy there for a bit. There was a crisis every summer, like clockwork.
And I'm not. I sort of get the reason why you would do like a big crossover every summer. I never minded the big crossovers. They don't always have to be a crisis. Like, I really liked what was it? Was it called Brand New Day or what? No, Brightest Day. Like the
right, which was the follow up to
Darkest Night. Yeah, and it's like Brightest Day brought back a bunch of characters and like sort of,
like storyline never finished. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like that he made the original Hawkman and Hawkgirl the heart of the Star Sapphire thing. I'm not a fan of everything having to tie into Green Lantern. I know there are Green Lantern fans who will disagree, but like for me, it kind of cheapens. I think in general, Hawkman has suffered from people trying to fix him rather than just letting Hawkman be Hawkman.
Right.
Like, Hawkman doesn't need to be new and edgy. He's a dude in a hawk outfit who flies and beats people up with maces. Like,
Or is he
that's what.
Thanagarian?
Well, even Thanagarian, he still beat people up with maces and still flew around in a hawk outfit. Like,
Sure.
the reason that Silver Age redo worked was it took and distilled the actual, the actual what was cool about the character. And, like the reincarnation thing um, was just sort of a way to go about it in the 30s and 40s. And, like I personally prefer the Thanagarian take. I like the sci-fi of it. I like that Shayara got to become Hawk Woman. But I also like Kendra Saunders as Hawk Girl. Like, I like that we got a Hawk Woman and a Hawk Girl. I thought Kendra was a really good character. And so, again, Jeff Johns really did a good job of sort of, in the beginning there, like, Stargirl is a really great character. He found a way to bring Dove back from the dead after DC Comics horribly assassinated that character for Armageddon 2001. Oh my god, people know that it's Captain Atom that is Monarch. Let's change it at the last minute. And, oh, Hawk and Dove is getting canceled. We'll make Hawk Monarch and we'll have him kill Dove. Even though, like, they've been building that as a love story. Let's just let domestic abuse end this story quick here. Like, it just was a bad thing. That was the first time I quit comics. George Perez left Wonder Woman, and what I heard from behind the scenes was there was a lot of editorial interference with the War of the Gods and what he wanted to do with Wonder Woman, so he just left. Didn't come back to DC for a few years. And the Titans hunt had gone on and on for, at that point, it felt like 2 years. And then they ruined Cyborg. They also ruined Jericho. They ruined and killed off Raven for a while. Starfire was weird. They brought back Terra, but it made no sense. Donna Troy had to give up her powers so that her kid wouldn't be evil.
Like you do.
There was a lot of bad comic stuff happening at the time. So I just stopped. And it was right when I was graduating high school, so I was like, I'm out. I'm too old for comic books anyway. I'm going to start reading Danielle Still and Jacqueline Suzanne and Jackie Collins. Anyone who wants to do that, I recommend skip Danielle Still because her stuff is boring. Go straight for the Jackie Collins because there's some good sex scenes and lots of violence. So, far better. I think I'm going to leave her shirt white. I think I want to go for accuracy. I think I'm going to give her... And I think I'm going to leave the gloves white, too. Just because I think once I go in and start putting water and making the stars happen, I think it's going to get a little messy. And so I think she'll stand out better then. So.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't know where my sharpener was for a minute there, and I was starting to panic a little bit.
Oh, no. That's a bad feeling.
But I found it. Life is good.
Yeah, that's a feeling. I've got a couple electric ones over there, but I have these little ones. And I'm tidying up and cleaning up because we are in the process of house hunting and looking at houses. And I've got so much stuff that if I don't start packing now, it'll be...
How's that
whenever
going?
our move-in date ends up being, I won't be ready if I don't start now. So, but I lost that sharpener for one. I've got two like that, but I lost the good one. And then I found it. It was under my rolling cart with all the pencils on it. So at least it like sort of tried to find its way home.
It's funny. I still think back and go, shopping for a house is fun. Buying a house sucks.
Yep. Agreed. That was also weird and dumb. Yeah, Bendis is so hit and miss. Like, and Bendis is an ideas guy when it's a particular character, but when Bendis like is in charge of everything, it's just not good.
I didn't mind his Young Justice at Wonder Comics. It
I
wasn't
was
great.
I was on board with it until like the Amethyst Princess of Gemworld is Superman's baby mama or whatever it was. Like I can't
I don't
remember if
remember that.
I don't remember if that ended up actually being the case, but I'm just in general not a fan of, even if he wasn't, and he was, I think it turned out he wasn't actually, but he was just helping raise the baby. I was just like, that's not that's not something we need for Amy Winston. Like it's not a storyline we want for her, guys. But Bendis wanted it, so there you go.
I mean, giving Tim Drake the superhero alias Drake wasn't the hottest move.
Yeah, just little stuff like that. Like, and then I get like, oh, what do we do with Tim Drake in a world where Damian is Robin? That I don't know, guys. Red Robin, like you were doing for a few years, that's perfect. I think. Like, yeah, the whole Drake thing ring of, oh my God, you guys, I just realized there's a bird named Drake.
And hilariously, though, it ends with him back in the Robin costume in the final issue.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I'm so glad Batman talked you out of that shenanigans. But you know what? It brought back Connor Kent. It brought back Cassie Sandmark.
There's that. Like, it did bring back some good characters, but it's like in general. It brought back Amethyst, but it, had to give her a child as part of it. And it's just like, I find it very limiting for characters when in any character. Like, I know some people are loving like the Superman and Lois having a child in the main continuity. I'm not a fan of that. Like,
I will admit, I'm a fan of Super Dad. Just because it gives him kind of a different role to play, but
well, I'm fine with it if, again, this is sort of where I'm a crusty old fan. I'm a fan of it. Like, this is why I liked Earth 2, because you could have easily, like on Earth 2, Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor were married and they had, you know, Lita, Hippolyta, their daughter who was a hero, like, they had kids. Like, and then on Earth 1, you've got sort of like all these 20s and 30s unmarried heroes. Like, it's just, there's no reason why sort of the main universe Superman has to be the one with the wife and kids. Just have my personal feeling is sometimes the editors and the people who make decisions at comic book companies think we're stupider as fans than we are. But like as a kid, I never had a problem tracking who was Earth One, and this is coming to it like in the 80s at years after all these concepts had been made. Like I always kept it straight in my head. I knew, oh, it's Power Girl and Huntress, so we're on Earth 2. Like, and if Power Girl and Huntress came to Earth 1, I wasn't suddenly confused. I was just like, oh, like they've crossed over because we can do that. So,
Brick is joining us as well.
Hello.
He was also on the Hot D conversation.
Hello, Brick. Yeah, I'll have to, like I said, I'm not going to be watching it because I don't enjoy the dragon shows. I watch too many of them and I mean, hopefully the new ones are better, but I'm sort of tired of torture porn shows. So, like, I've not gone back and finished The Walking Dead and probably never will. So, if I want torture porn, I'll go watch a video where dudes talk about Star Wars. And that's personal torture porn. So. And now I'm just going to go in and all the water soluble stuff I laid down earlier, I'm going to go and we're going to get it wet. Move it around. And I printed this stupidly on the wrong paper because I had changed what was in the printer when I was printing these out. So this paper is probably going to warp a little bit. It's just, this cardstock is what I use for when I do portraits, and I was printing out some like basically whenever I color for myself, I buy pages from Etsy that artists make of like hair and faces. But I use it. I don't ever. So I use a different paper. So anyway, then this paper starts warping. That's why, and whatever. Um, yes, I am too. I don't like wasting the paper that way. Like I could have just gone in and reprinted it and done this different, but it's like no. Let's do it here. Make the best of it. I'll have to flatten it once it dries. What I need to do is get my heat gun that I use for customizing and set it up, and then just use that to dry as I go. But that's until we're in the new place and I have a studio, I can't really do that because the cats hate the heat gun. So, and we don't do things that cats hate because that's when they go nuts during a live stream and knock stuff over. But yeah, so there we go. Oh, okay. So that's coming from you. I also trust you. So, okay. See, thank you. Because that was a big problem like I had with the last one. I was okay with at the end where like the white woman savior character actually turned out to be the ultimate villain. Like I know some people got mad, but I'm like, no, that's pretty much her character. She thinks she's gonna save us all. And then whenever she doesn't get to save everyone, she just sort of turns on them and goes crazy. Like that's typical. Like anytime you see a Karen at the grocery store freaking out over um, a coupon or her service wasn't good enough or she had to see a brown person down the aisle she was trying to buy bread on or whatever. That's pretty much Daenerys, so I'm okay with that. But otherwise, the torture porn of it all, especially because it was pretty misogynistic. Like it didn't feel. It was the season of Game of Thrones where the little girl with the skin disease is sacrificed, and I just at
Yeah.
that point I was like, I don't think I can do this. I didn't rewatch it for a really long time after that because I just didn't sit well. And I know it's in the book or whatever, but fuck that book. Maybe the reason he has writer's block is he realized he's writing misogynistic bullshit. So anyway, no offense if you like those movies or shows or whatever. They're just not for me. Um, if I'm gonna watch misogyny, I'm gonna watch a Friday the 13th movie from the 80s, or at least Jason's head's gonna get chopped off at the end with a machete. Feminism. It's messy. It's not. It's muddled, but it's dealable. Um, I did finally watch The Acolyte, and I enjoyed it. So
Oh, did you?
yeah, I enjoyed it, and all the stuff that I sort of saw certain types complaining about, I loved it even more. But I also knew going in that they hated it, so I don't know if it was just I loved it also because I knew that every time I love The Acolyte, a man like has a seizure and falls over and cries. So a certain
You know,
type.
I thought it did some really cool universe building,
Yep.
and I really hope it's not a one and done thing.
What I liked about it, and this is the thing, was it wasn't like every other Star Wars. And I think ultimately that's the real problem is that there are a lot of people who just want Star Wars to be like Star Wars. And when they say that, they want it to be like the original trilogy, like running around shooting stormtroopers, blowing up Death Stars, whatever. Um, and I love that for them. I just need them to like let people who enjoy different Star Wars stuff to enjoy different Star Wars stuff. I didn't need like my YouTube feed, like for 3 weeks was like the Acolyte really is that bad. Oh my god, how they've ruined. Like I don't know. Like in general, like I don't know what to do with my personal YouTube algorithm because it keeps serving me up bullshit I don't even watch. But like I don't click on any of that. and yet it's all it will give me. And it's like I purposely sought out people who are doing good reviews and thought-provoking reviews and like actually discussing with nuance the Acolyte, and it did not help my feed. All I kept getting was haters. I mean, a few of them were people I was subscribed to, so I just went in and unsubscribed. So I don't have to see any of their shit anymore because I don't need you on my feed for like good videos if you make videos like that. So anyway.
Have you seen the trailer for Skeleton Crew?
I have not.
I have like one really weird problem with it. I think it looks great. I'm really excited for it, but I'm weirding out at the concept of, and slight spoilers, I guess, at sidewalks in Star
Yeah.
Wars.
I'll have to look it up because I have not. But again, I at this point I don't. I mean, I knew about Alkalite because I couldn't avoid all of the
Sure.
stupid thumbnails, and that like
Skeleton.
that. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the pitch for Skeleton Crew, and I'm on board. Is Amblin Star Wars?
Nice. Yeah, no, I just like I said, I've been avoiding anything. Basically, I like this is the first time hearing definite stuff about it, so I'll look for the trailer now. But like basically at this point, if you Brick or Vectorverse mention a Star Wars thing, then I go look our Mark at the Holdo Maneuver podcast. Like if one of you guys are like, oh, there's new Star Wars, it's like worth your time, or I'm enjoying it, then I'll go seek it out. Like I'll go look at reviews or whatever to the trailers and stuff. But otherwise, like I just anytime I hear dudes talking about Star Wars, I'm just like, Star Wars, what's Star Wars? Oh my god. Star Wars isn't for girls. Um so
And I 100% know you're choosing violence with that comment, because it's
right.
like
Well, I mean that's
my
the thing. That's I used to
yeah.
get told that all the time in elementary school on the playground by the same dudes who were like, we were okay with chicks in Star Wars when it was Princess Leia. It's like, actually, Carl, Zachary, that's not what you said back in the day. I have the receipts because I'm older than all of you.
Well, it's like people freaking out about, in the Acolyte, the like, I'll see you in hell, Jedi. Like, there's no hell in Star Wars, except there was hell in Star Wars.
There's hell in Star. Han Solo says, "I'll see you in hell in Empire Strikes Back."
Right.
Right before he leaves to go look for Luke in the snow. I sat through both Ewok movies. There's definitely hell in Star Wars. Let's see. Thank you, Brick. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. All right. So I'm going to really quickly put mine in the solo layout.
Beautiful.
Of course, it would help if it would focus. Oh, I bet. Let me try that. It's trying. Okay. So anyway, I just need to let the paper dry a little bit because if I start doing paint pen on it now, it'll not look good. I've learned that the hard way. If you look at certain Care Bear shorts from like a year ago, you'll see what I'm talking about. Oh, I missed a spot too. Right down in here. Yeah, these Garon dashes are perfect for doing like a like galaxy space stuff. Use it a lot, ironically, on Star Wars. All right, let's remove that from solo layout. I'm gonna put I'm putting Chris solo layout really quick so everyone can enjoy. Oh, that looks really good, Chris. It's such a
I'm
great
pretty happy with
theme.
it. I wish this is my lack of artistic talent here. I wish I had a way to maybe farmland this up a little bit more, but I'm pretty happy with it overall.
To make it, I'm sorry, what are you wanting to achieve?
Something a little bit more farmland, and I don't know what that means in my head. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, just go in and just go in really lightly with your brown
Yeah.
and just sort of add some texture to it. It's really kind of all it is sort of texturing it. You've got and you're set. You have like two different greens, right?
Yes.
So go in with your brown and your darker green because it looks like he's probably either chartreuse or apple green for the most of the ground. So go in with you've got the 12 set, right?
I have a 12 count premiere of
Okay, so
like
you've got
botanicals.
the botanicals, and I'm pretty sure you have the basic 12.
I have yeah, basic and under the sea.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So I've been working with the basic here. Let's see, let me grab my under the sea. So yeah, definitely the sienna brown that you have in the 12 basic. If you use that, in your under the sea set, you should have moss green as well as grass green. And botanicals has olive green in it. Yeah. So I would, if it were me and I were wanting to add a little sort of texture to that ground, I would go in really lightly with the sienna brown and the
Okay.
moss green and then the olive green and just sort of alternate, sort of sketchy like. Oh, wow. I'm still waiting for it to dry. So I'm going to do a rough demo. This is a different green than the one you're using. I'm just going to do this corner
Okay.
right here. So this is the apple green, which is a little, I think it looks like you used either chartreuse or spring green for the ground. And so I'm not covering it quite the same way. There are also some textured grass there in the art.
Yeah.
I'm going opposite with the green. So now I'm going to go in with sienna. And the sienna, I'm just going to kind of lightly do a couple little sort of like dashes almost. Just light, some dark. And then I'm going to use the moss green. And with the moss green, I'm just going to sort of lightly shade using sort of the tip and the side. And just do that all over it. But unevenly. You don't want to cover the entire thing with the moss green. You still want some of the other grains and the browns to poke through. And then with the grass green, sort of the same thing, but I'm doing little sort of swirly lines because again, it adds a little texture to it. And then the same with the olive green. And again, you're not wanting to do the whole thing. And this one, I'm just going to do much longer lines, sort of across of it. Sorry, words are hard, so just sort of like that. And then once all of that is done, go back in with your spring green, which I'm basing that on sort of how light it is that it's the spring green. Plus this.
I will.
Oh,
my base is actually yellow on this.
Yellow. Okay, so that'll actually work even better. Once you've added all of those greens to it, go on top with either your apple green or your spring green, and then sort of use that lightly to sort of do a layer over all of it. And then you should get, put it up closer to the camera. So it should look like that.
Okay.
So
oh, that
you've
looks
added
great.
all sorts of texture and color. Like it's really rough. That's not as, the way I was about to say that sounds really sort of snotty. Like it's not as good as it could be. Like I did that really quickly. If I had taken time to do that, it would look a lot nicer. But you know.
Because yeah, I was trying to think of it as more like wheat in kind of with some grass in there.
Yeah, no, and yellow is a good base coat if you're gonna. I mean, I've I've got a yellow chartreuse which has green tones that I will use if I'm doing like winter grass, and that'll be my bottom layer. And then I'll use more browns, and the landscapes that I have has a pumpkin orange in it, so I'll go in and use the pumpkin orange.
Sure, sure.
This paper is dried enough that I'm going to go in with the white paint pen now and just start filling in some of these stars. But I'm not going to do all of them with the white. I'm going to, I've got some other acrylic pens that I'm going to go in and add other colors. The original comic of this just used sort of a gradient black and blue to do like a space effect. I wanted way more cosmic, so just gonna go in and do paint stuff. Sorry, like walking you through that kicked in the I've been I made one but it didn't have a voiceover, but I've been working on some sort of tutorial videos. Nothing that's ready for release, but it's just like part of the process of that is doing a tutorial, like learning how to do it and finding my vibe for it. So I apologize, I just slipped into that mood earlier.
No, I appreciate it. I am not an artiste. I am a guy with a set of pencils going, oh, I wonder if this color is going to look good.
This is like the third time we've hung out doing this. You're doing pretty good. So I feel like your pages that you have at the end of it look really good whenever.
Well, and I'm trying to push myself because I've noticed historically I color very lightly, and I want to try to get some bolder colors here.
Well, as somebody who colors really hard, I will say the light is not a bad thing. It gives you more room to go in and add more layers. So sort of the thing I just walked you through with the grass, like you'll have a much easier time with that than I do because I color a lot harder. So there's just you can get fewer layers when you do that. So
that said, I'm really happy with this page. So
well, and ultimately that's the thing. Like, are you happy with it? Because unless you're doing commissioned work, which I don't even do commissioned work at this stage, and don't know if I would. But unless you're doing commissioned work, it's all about what you enjoy and what you like and what is pleasing to you and what makes you happy. Like if you're happy when you look at it at the end, it doesn't, in my opinion, matter what it looks like to anyone else. But I don't know. Even the first time you came and hung out when we did the 80s superpower stuff, I felt like you did a really good job with those. So you got some artistic flair in there. I don't know anyone though who like reads a lot of comic books and has sort of knowledge of comic books and who doesn't have at least a little bit of an artist in them. I mean, obviously, I just said that so somebody will prove me wrong. They'll like, I've been reading comic books for 20 years. Look what I just made, and I'll be like, oh yeah, you've got no talent. Please don't ever do that again. Even Rob Liefeld can do better feat than that. Have you seen Deadpool yet?
yes, I really enjoyed it.
I loved that movie. I loved it. But I say that because I just made the Liefeld joke, and this is not a spoiler for those who haven't seen. Well, it's a spoiler of something for you to keep an eye on during the movie. But there's a scene in the movie where they're in the city, the characters, and there's a storefront, and the sign over the storefront is like Liefeld's shoes or whatever. And I
Liefeld's
got,
just feet.
yeah, just feet. That's right. And I'm gonna tell you that was one of my biggest laughs that a lot of people in the audience did not get. I went with my friend Kurt, and he was like, "Oh my God, the store! It's Liefeld's feet." And he got well, I've also complained to him about Rob Liefeld's feet. So
One thing I always try to do is have action figures on my desk just for like color reference and
yeah.
things. And I just flipped over to this page of our favorite Michael Turner design.
Oh, that's a good
Supergirl.
one. That was the other one you picked.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, she looks like she has bracers. When did she have bracers? When did this happen?
Oh, that was a weird time when she had the belt and the skirt. Because
Yeah.
Jamal Angle came in and sort of redid the costume at some point where they tried to make it more realistic, and it was all over the place for a while there.
Yeah. Oh. And I'm suddenly looking at this cityscape and going, I've made a terrible mistake. My inner Joe Bluth comes out.
Huh? All right. Oh, there we go. I think I'm going to do all of the stars. I think some of them are fine. Here we go.
Well, and I will say, I tried to take some inspiration from you, and I worked primarily on my background first because I hate doing backgrounds.
Yeah, backgrounds are hard. All right, so really quick, I'm done. So I'm gonna quickly throw mine up on screen. And I'll take, for whatever reason, the camera is not focusing the way it needs to because StreamYard did an update the other day.
It's a little soft, but it's not bad.
Yeah, so I will, long way of saying there will be a picture on Instagram and a little bit of the page so everyone can enjoy the whole thing. I don't know why StreamYard halfway through the last stream I did went sort of fuzzy, and I don't know why. There we go. Oh, excellent. So yeah, it's the thing where like I don't do autofocus on my phone, but for whatever reason, StreamYard thinks I need it. So anyway, the full thing will be on Instagram shortly. So see, we've got about 20 minutes left. I am not obviously going to finish this one, but I'm going to work on it while we're here. So, and thank you, Alex. And then here we go. Back to sort of the long view so everyone can also see what Chris is doing. And since I already started with the ground, I'm going to go back in and work on this one. I'm not going to take this one down, so I do apologize. This is going to flip around a bit, guys. But this is, whenever I'm not filming something, this is how I color a page when I've printed it out. Even with a book, I'll sometimes flip the book all around. So this is the behind the scenes content
That people are crying
that
for.
I've never filmed because I don't think anyone is that interested in the behind. This is sort of behind the scenes stuff. So, and it looks like one of the cats raided my desk last night because I just found cat fur. That would be why. See, because this guy came yesterday, and when I got on my desk this morning to start setting up, he was knocked over. And I thought it was just probably me, but now that I'm seeing these little bits of cat fur, I think I know what happened. I need to check and see if Shira's sword is missing. It's not, but one of the Leia guns is missing, so there we go. My cat steals weapons.
Proof the cats are just waiting to revolt.
He, for whatever reason, he steals the weapons, and I've had to put up on high shelves any of my vintage figures or any of my custom figures that I have in a vinyl cape because he will chew on them. Luckily, he only got a resin Return of the Jedi Luke from one of the concept things that I had put an orange cape onto that I had ordered through a guy on Etsy. So I'm going to have to reorder the orange cape because he chewed it up. And he got one of the retro collection New Hope Leias. But since I have like 30 of those that I bought, they were at one point on sale for like $2.99 on Amazon. So I bought a bunch of them for custom fodder. And so that one doesn't concern me as much because I have extra retro vinyl capes for the Leia. But the orange cape annoys me because that one I have to reorder. But what can you do, kittens? I think I'm going to reread all of the Peter David stuff this week. Like, all these pages are making me, you know, it also helps that I'm working on some Supergirl. I'm working on a Villain Obscura video about Selena from the Supergirl movie. And so I've been going through my Supergirl long boxes because she's obviously was not a comic book character. She was sort of made for the movie. But there are a couple comic book characters that were in the Supergirl comics that it almost looks like she was inspired by. There was, of course, Black Star, who appeared in the same issue that Supergirl got the costume that she was supposed to wear for them. Well, actually, it is sort of the one, except the top of it is different. It's a couple issues before the horrible headband was added. But Black Star, the character, looks a lot like Selena. She's got like long dresses and sort of long, flowing, curly, reddish hair. So I've been going through the Daring New Adventures of Supergirl, looking up stuff for that, but I should dig deeper. And there isn't any sort of characters comparable in Peter David's run to Selena. Hello. It was 80s for sure, and I will definitely, because if you've seen the screen test of Helen Slater in that, you would also speak ill of it. So, for me, the best Supergirl costume is the Matrix version or the 70s hot pants.
The good news is I do
Yeah,
have my headband figure right here. Woo! Zooming right in.
I've got I've got that one, and I have the one that DC Direct did in their Crisis on Infinite Earth series. I've got her. I've got let's see, who else is in that? Oh, Huntress. I have the Huntress and the Supergirl for that, and I might I might have the Doctor Light. I do know I don't have the Harbinger because I can never find her at a local store, and then she was always too much on it. I mean, she's like $500, I'm sure now on eBay or Amazon. But at one point, she was like $30 on there. I'm like, if it's gonna be like that much, I'm just gonna go wait for her to show up at one of my locals, and then didn't. And now I don't know that I need Harbinger, so.
I really miss that DC Direct company, the way they did toys. They weren't the most articulated, but they always had pretty good sculpts.
Yeah. I just like the character selection. I always felt like, like it was actually picked with comic book fans in mind. And I get like, oh, they have to sell, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there are a lot of toys I bought as a kid where I knew nothing about the character beyond it was a cool figure.
Right.
Like, I mean, like Superpowers, the original version is a good point. Like when that Brainiac came out, the only Brainiac I knew was the from Challenge of the Super Friends, where he was like in, like in the little diaper shorts and green and pink, and I always thought he was like a robot Luthor because he looks like Luthor. He was just green and in his little speedos, and then there's a weird, creepy computer skull looking Brainiac, the living computer, and he got that really cool voice for the Superpowers cartoon. Like that design was, and every time they make him like a green dude again, I'm just bored. Like, give me a big skull monster, death head Brainiac, guys. I don't need some big green hulking. Like that's Brainiac 5's look. Like I liked that. Sort of the story behind it too, where like Brainiac had evolved past wanting to look quite so human. Like it just, I don't know. It felt like a cool upgrade. Another thing we lost to the Crisis because John Byrne, for a while, he was like an old carnival worker, like in a pink jumpsuit who evolved. I almost color. That's one of the pages I almost picked because the cover from the Daring New Adventures of Supergirl comic book, which is my favorite Supergirl run of all time. And that page was in this book. I'm going to save that though, because I'm going to obviously be doing more Supergirl content now. So I'm going to save that one because it's a really cool page. Also happy anniversary to Brick, even though my understanding is it's on Wednesday. Am I missing that? If I'm wrong, I apologize. Yep, I agree. 100%. I think the superpower, and I believe that was Ed Hannigan and George Perez who redesigned Brainiac, which it totally has that 80s Perez look to it. And I'm sure part of why they sort of changed it because it's a lot of details and not everyone, like that first Troya costume Donna Troy wore, like anyone but Perez doing that, it looked really not good. But Perez, of course, could sell it, but Perez's style, for whatever reason, when he would draw those super elaborate 80s costumes, always worked. And then somebody else would draw, and it's like, oh, that's busy. So, but yeah, Computer Skull Brainiac is my favorite Brainiac. And I know there was some comic that brought it back where it was like he used drones that looked like that. They were like robot drones. And I appreciate it, but like that's also not real. It's like a drone. I need Brainiac to look like that, not his little robots that he sends out on missions. Anyway, you now all know if I ever write Superman comics, what is gonna happen to Brainiac. So heads up.
Be prepared.
The evolution of Brainiac. It would be a Brainiac story and a Supergirl story, and then I would spin off into the Supergirl solo series. Also, it's weird to me how a lot of modern interpretations of Superman want to sort of turn Kara's Supergirl's parents into like bad guys who are trying to like take over and destroy humanity. It's just so weird. Like, I mean, it tells me a lot about the people writing the comics that that's where their brain goes. Like, these super powered people, race of people from outer space, they're gonna come here and just take over. There's no way that the Silver Age ideal that they would come here and want to live peaceably and help us live better lives could ever happen.
Conquer or nothing.
Right? So. I don't know. Comics just, again, I think it's partly just, maybe it's just partly where we are as society, but it just feels like comics used to be way more hopeful than they are now. Now everything's so bleak and dreary. And like, I'm okay with the Joker being a homicidal maniac. Like, I feel like that works, but I miss, I miss silly Batman villains. Like, and I say this right before I say I really like what they've done with Kite Man. Like, I like how they've reworked him. I think it's fun. But at the same time, it would be nice if not everything had to be dark and grim and horrible.
I kind of liked that was the thing I kind of liked about the Grayson Batman run is his villains were a little bit silly, but somehow also just terrifying as hell.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I like Lord, what is it? Lord Deathface?
Lord Deathman.
Yeah, Lord Deathman, which, he's from like the 60s. He's from that silly era of comic books.
Yeah, Bat manga.
Yeah, well, no, he actually was from like 60s campy Batman. Like he was on one of the Showcase Presents collections. I mean, he was just Deathman, but like the mangas in Japan did sort of pick him up and run with him, but he was in 60s DC comic books. He was like one issue and he wasn't never came back. But yeah, and he was pretty. He was just a dude in a skeleton costume, like sort of like the quintessential like black bodysuit with a skeleton on it. And it was a solid episode. A solid episode. I keep saying episode instead of issues. It was a solid issue for like Silver Age, Adam West era Batman. But Grant Morrison is also. Well, I haven't read any Morrison in a while, but he used to be really good about taking sort of old concepts and keeping them camp, but also making them like viable threats. So like that's in my opinion, one of his big. I liked a lot of Morrison's, but I do not like. Sorry for all the Damian Wayne fans. I don't like the concept of Damian Wayne. Again,
I've
but that ties back
softened
to I
on
don't like.
Damien, but yeah.
That just ties though back into my whole thing where I don't like. Like if Earth 2 Batman had a son named Damian Wayne and Damian Wayne sometimes came to Earth 1 for adventures, I would be fine with that. I'd even be fine with like an Earth 2 Damian Wayne book. I like my main universe characters to sort of be status quo a little bit, where it's like they're not really married, they don't have kids, they get, it's sort of like that prime superhero. Because once a a superhero especially has a kid, then it's all the villain is going to kill your child. And with Batman, it's especially extra because of kill death. And again, I'm one of the people who called for them to kill Jason Todd. So I have no room to talk about this. Kill the kid. I'm one of the people who did vote for him to die. So and I
But
think
I thought
oh sorry.
I was just gonna say, I thought Damian worked best with Dick, not Bruce.
Yeah, like, and I think there is, and I liked where Batman is dead and Damian and Dick were, that worked for me because like that was a different.
Well, you had fun, goofy Batman in dead serious Robin, which was
Right,
just a fun
exactly.
reinvention.
It was a flip of the dynamic, and like that worked for me. And that I will say that is the one time I did enjoy Damian. I don't enjoy Batman with Damian, and maybe that's all it is. It's like maybe because they're both so grim, and like to me, there's no appeal when like Bruce is trying to make Damian less grim because that's like pot meet kettle. Like Bruce is pretty grim, so.
Right. It's the antithesis of the
Excuse me.
uh Tim Drake story arc when he's introduced, right? Because without a Robin to lighten Batman, he gets so grim dark that it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is right, Alex. At one point, yeah, it was just weird. Yeah, you missed the Gals. You'll have to do some of the rewatch because we did definitely had some Gal Simone love earlier in the stream. Um, also agree. Also agree. I haven't picked it up yet, but it is one of my one of the figures I'm definitely going to get from McFarlane, and it's I just sort of, as we do the whole house shopping, I've been trying to not buy stuff. So most of my purchases have been either Masters of the Universe pre-orders I had, or a couple of things I picked up from eBay to make content with. So not a ton of, ooh, I really need this thing because I love it. All right. So obviously I'm not going to finish this one before we're done today, but I got some grass. And we're sort of getting to that point, so I should probably start wrapping it up. Yep, 3 minutes till the 2 hour mark, and my phone just gave me the your battery's about to die, girl. So, really quick, I'm gonna put you full screen so everyone can see where you're at. So this is oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say pretty early on this page, not very far into it.
But it is also your second page, so
yeah.
You got a complete, and you and I tend to get at least one page. Every time you come, I get at least my first page finished, so it's pretty cool. And then this is, of course, the one that's done. And this one is partially done, so. Normally, I would say I'll finish this and post it on Instagram later, but I've got a few things I need to do after the stream. So I don't know if I will finish this today, but it will get finished. It will be posted to Instagram sometime within the next week or so. So yeah. Oh, let's keep her. There we go. Keep that focused. All right, and really quick, there we are. All right, Chris, where can the people find you?
I can be found over at Shiny Plastic Toys, which is at SPP Toys, just about anywhere and everywhere. And I'm trying to be good about posting stuff on Sundays.
Excellent. Did you post something today?
I did. About 15 minutes before this stream, I unboxed some Supergirl stuff that I recorded last week.
Well, excellent. So, and there should be a link in the description of this video to Chris's channel. If for some reason you're not subscribed, you should follow the link and go subscribe and watch his Supergirl content because it does tie into this, but also just the rest of you have really good DC McFarlane. Sorry. I said good and McFarlane in the same sentence.
It's all right. It happens. It happens.
But no, you make I really enjoy your content. And really quickly, speaking of Stanley's Toy Channel, hello. We're wrapping up, but glad to see you here. Stanley has also been doing some reviews of superpower stuff, so check Stanley out as well. After you go check out Chris's Supergirl stuff today, because that's right, Synergy, baby, because it is, again, the 40th anniversary this year of the Supergirl movie, starting this month when it was released in international markets, aka not the US. So I have some more Supergirl content coming this month, so keep an eye out for that. A few notes. Next Friday, I should be live at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be doing Star Wars. Hence the Star Wars book I'm working on this year. And then next Sunday, I will be here at 11 a.m. I'll be solo because I have some traveling stuff this week due to house stuff. And I may not be able to make it Sunday. So if not, I don't want to have a guest and then have to cancel. So I should be here. It'll be solo for sure. And if for some reason there's not, it'll say on my community tab that with everything, I couldn't make it. So if I am here next week, I will be coloring Supergirl stuff. I've got some pages from the Supergirl movie that we'll do for that. So anyway, with all of that said, I appreciate you showing. Oh, tomorrow I have a Gem in the Holograms coloring video hit. So watch that. We all love Gem. So anyway, that's that. So thank you again, Chris.
Of course.
Go watch Shiny Plastic People video content. It's your best. It's the best McFarlane superpowers and DC superpowered toys content on the internet. So there you go. Says I. So.
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Anyway, I'm Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess, and we are out.